You know, I think about us, the three of us, what we could be. I think about it all the time.
Please. It's terrible.
No, it's not. I know June. She's my friend. I care about her. How's your day going? You look pretty.
Thanks. I wore it just for you. Her father's a driver named Nick. He helped me to survive. Yes, you can, because I can't lose you.
I'm not gonna let anything happen to you.
What about you?
Your girlfriend is a badass.
Welcome to Above the Garage, a Nick and June, the Handmaid's Tale podcast.
Hi, friends, and welcome to our Season 1, Episode 3 analysis. This is the spoiler-free version, so if you're a new watcher, this is the episode for you. We'll be discussing the episode. It's called Late, and let me introduce our friends.
Hi, I'm Scarlett.
Hi, I'm Claudia.
I'm Sarah.
Hi, I'm Tina.
Hi, I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Kate.
So the episode starts with Emily's arrest in the detention center and June talking about that she heard from Rita, who heard from the Martha Network, how they arrested her. And yeah, so
June's voiceover says there's no mercy for members of the resistance. She left nothing behind. No footprints, no breadcrumbs. I didn't even know her name. That's the voiceover that she has. And I think then she's walking to the market with the new Auckland. And that's when her voiceover starts. The one, I really like this voiceover. She says, now I'm awake to the world. I was asleep before. That's how we let it happen. When they slaughtered Congress, we didn't wake up. When they blamed terrorists and suspended the Constitution, we didn't wake up. They said it was temporary. And then this is really important. She says, nothing changes instantaneously. In a gradually heating bathtub, you'd be boiled to death before you know it. And I think that's a summary of pretty much how these things happen, because nothing changes instantaneously. It's gradual. And most of the time, most of us would say, oh, that won't happen here. It won't get to that. And she says that further down the episode. But I think that voiceover, I think, is one of the most important ones when you kind of think of what Gilead really is and how it becomes.
Yeah, it's really interesting in this episode to see how it went down, and scary how quickly it all happened. I mean, slowly, obviously, leading up to it, but then when they lose their money and their jobs, only the women. I dislike that scene, of course. But
I think Moira says something like they had to do it that way because otherwise the women would flee to the airports.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, she's calling the bank, and it's like, I'm sure the wait times on that call are like 24 hours because everybody's panicking at the same time. So nothing.
Where's my money?
Yeah.
And like even the scene in the coffee shop, it's really jarring because like the clerk who's serving them, he calls them sluts. And it's just like, whoa.
Fucking slut. It was intense.
There are other women in the shop staring at them because they're wearing like running clothes, like tank tops and like very tight fitting clothes. Yeah.
And when they were running, there were other women staring at them.
Yeah.
Like disgusted.
That's how I see the slow Gilead people becoming more empowered and their voices more heard, because they feel that now, I mean, I was debating whether the takeover had already happened or not. And I'm pretty sure the flashbacks happen in order. And I think the takeover had already happened, because when they go to let them go, they're not fired, quote unquote. There's that, the guys with the automatic weapons and the black uniforms are there. So you see them running, and you see that woman obviously looking at them because their bodies are showing. And, you know, that's dangerous because our bodies are sinful and the poor men cannot control their urges. And, it skips to the coffee shop, and the guy feels powerful enough to talk to them like that. He knows he's not going to get fired. So he has a power, and he feels comfortable enough to treat them like that. And then we go to them getting fired, which was, you see poor Roger, who's the boss, flustered and nervous. And he says he only has 10 minutes. And he says twice, I didn't have a choice. And I like that the scene pans around the people in the room. So you see people's reactions. You see there's men like, well, I don't know what's happening, and they don't want to look at anybody.
Yeah, I was watching.
And then you see other men, you know, hugging their coworkers, and I think June's face is really important when she's leaving, because I always say this. I mean, Elizabeth Moss has, she tells you exactly what she's feeling with her face. And when she's leaving, you see her, she's scared and she's frustrated and she's kind of taking everything in, but she's angry. When the guardian opens the door, he says, under his eye, just like the nurse in the hospital says, praise be. So those flashbacks are just telling us exactly how people kind of came out of their cave, because that wasn't the norm in the time that we were basically living in when that happened. So that scene for me is one of the two scenes that I still watch and I get really angry and emotional, because for me personally, I think women need two things to have at least some sort of equal opportunity. And one is to be able to make choices on your body and to have economic independence. And when you don't have that, there's really not many choices you can make.
Yeah. And I think you were right that the takeover had already happened, because when they're talking to Luke, I think somebody says that we were under martial law, but that was because of we needed.
She says we've been under martial law since DC. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. So,
I find it funny. Sorry, I find it funny how June seems oblivious. Like it's happened so slowly, she hasn't really noticed, but it's kind of just come all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I was researching this. It wasn't until 1960s that we had the right to, at least in the United States, to open a bank account. But it wasn't until 1971 that we didn't have permission, that we didn't have to have permission to open a bank account, get a loan, or own property. So do the math.
That's crazy.
In Gilead, they were going back to that. Just like in the 1960s, birth control was illegal. And it wasn't until 1965 that married couples could have birth control, and 1972 until unmarried women can have birth control. So it wasn't that long ago.
Educated here. I did not know any.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Recent.
It was 1919 when we got the right to vote, but it was further down the road when we got all those other rights. So to see it on TV in present time, it's scary when you watch it. When June says, I have $4,000, I had $4,000 in that account. I realized this morning, she doesn't have those $4,000 anymore. She doesn't have access to them. Luke has access to that. And she's not going to have access to more money because she can't work. So that's the money she had to actually, quote unquote, run away if she had decided to run away. And that is scary. That's very, very scary.
I was also just thinking what an administrative nightmare that would be. How would you even figure out how to give the women's money and property?
No, I was like, I'm not married, so who gets mine? Does my dad get it? Does my brother get it?
Yeah.
I'd be screwed.
It's like a lot of work.
Well, no, think about how many women might have an estranged relationship with their father or their male next of kin.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Then they just have nothing. So it's terrible. It's horrible. And scary, very scary.
So she's at the Waterford house before they actually show the Luke scene. And June's like really freaked out because Rita's being nice to her. And there needs to be an explanation for that, because this is not how Rita acts.
She got her the contraband cinnamon as well.
Oh, I know. I would not trade cheese for cinnamon, just for the record.
No.
Me either.
But yeah, she's acting so weird. And then Serena comes in and she's acting equally too nice, right? She's like, what is going on? So she's Mr. Period, and she doesn't even know that. I can imagine that she did not feel remotely as happy as they did about the news.
Absolutely not.
And did you notice how in that scene, Serena, because she can't abuse June because she thinks she's pregnant, she gets really shitty and snappy with Rita because she has to have that power over somebody. So, I can't do it to her. So you're my target now. Yeah, which is just.
I did notice that for that reason.
Yeah. Serena says something like, are your breasts tender or something, and Rita claps back and says,
that was so horrible.
It's too early for any of that.
Yeah. Serena's so out of touch. I don't know.
I just hated that scene for so many reasons. I love Rita. She's great, but her being happy about the possibility of this great baby existing, it makes you like really uncomfortable.
Yes, me too. Same reaction, because that's not going to fix the situation in your house. Also, it's what does Serena say? Got to be in the clean plate club or something like that.
Yeah.
A very annoying line.
I found it really weird that June didn't realize what was going on, because I mean, everything about her day-to-day stuff is like, she has to know when the ceremony is. She has to know when she's supposed to get a period. So I was wondering why she didn't notice that. The only point was the rose. She got the rose and then she said, fuck.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
So that was weird.
I'm like the one woman in the world. Every time you go to some doctor's appointment, they're like, when was your last period? And I literally don't know. I can never think of the date. It seems like every other woman in the world knows. But if I were in Gilead, I would definitely know that. There's not much else to think about there. So yeah, her being blindsided by that news was strange, to say the least.
But then I have to think maybe it wasn't like, mine has a variation of like 2 to 3 days, right? So maybe it wasn't that far off and they were just like super jumping the gun, which is what I feel like they really were doing. They, you should have asked for them yesterday. Yeah. It's been like 2 days. Like, there's normal variations, which isn't surprising. Sure. They want that baby so bad.
After that, it's the visit, right?
Yeah, Serena invites her to go to the Putnams and even allows her to hold the baby, which is
I don't think the other ladies were too happy about that.
No, they rip her out of her arms, right? And June's like still protecting the baby's head as the other woman rips the baby out of her arms because she actually cares about the baby, as opposed to
a bitch.
Yeah, she's the worst. There's like one decent commander's wife in that bunch, right?
There was one that was kind of like the one that offered her a cookie in the other episode. She was normal, but that's the same one that says, "Don't spoil them." Like they're not people.
Yeah. The sentence, "You know how they get." It's also like the "don't spoil them." It's like they are little kids or dogs or something.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking when the wives came and took the baby from June. She's a mom. How would she not be able to hold the baby?
Right.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Like she's, I don't know, 5.
She's literally more experienced than any of the rest of them, right?
Exactly.
Even Serena says it. Like, she's done this before. It's like, obviously she's done it. You all haven't done it. So
I kind of hate Serena's being nice, even though the way she flips back and forth is
I just couldn't work out. I couldn't work her out back when I first watched this. Could not work her out.
Yeah, it's hard back then.
It's just because she has something to gain from June at that point, right? Like, I'm going to be nice to her because she has something to give me.
Right.
Yeah.
She's nice to people when she can use them, which
that's right.
When they're useful to her. June is useful to her at that point. She thinks she's pregnant.
It's very true.
Yeah. But did you get the look on Serena's face when Mrs. Putnam said, "I can't wait till she's weaned and the girl is out of my house"? It was like she's a little bit concerned or something. And I was like, why is she thinking about that? Because she has nothing to do with them. And June isn't in this place now. So
I missed that look. Yeah, I didn't see it. That is interesting. And then June goes to visit Janine. I love the "you can't bite people." Like, she says it like nicely to her.
The great line from Janine. Well, she is a cunt.
I know.
Oh, it's so good.
I love that line. The way she delivers it.
She sings it.
Yeah. She is a cunt. Correct, but also you can't bite people,
Yeah.
Like, she was biting her because she was trying to take the baby away from her. She was trying to protect
her
child.
She was still feeding her.
Yeah. So she was like, no, my baby still needs to eat. Like, I'm gonna bite you to protect my child. It's that instinct. You almost can't blame her.
No, I mean, it kills me how fake the wives are, that they literally they don't care about taking care of the baby, It seems fair.
I don't think Mrs. Putnam has any idea about babies at all.
Right.
No.
None.
No. The baby's more like a trophy or a status symbol to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But she's like proudly complaining about how tired, how sleep, deprived she is, and it's all such bullshit.
Oh God, yeah.
It's
like, why would she even wake at night with the baby?
She's not. I bet.
Yeah,
Correct.
like she doesn't have to feed her.
I'm sure
like
the Martha
when the Martha
and
takes the baby to Janine.
Exactly. There's no way that she gets up in the middle of the night.
Or maybe she just hears the baby crying.
That is bothering her probably, yes. She woke for a minute in the middle of the night.
The baby is a social status for this woman. It's what, in their beliefs, it's what they're in this world for. So if they can't do that, then they failed as women. So they're going to see the baby as, look what I did. Like I'm a woman because I have this baby that's not yours and you didn't do anything to have it. Like you didn't carry it, you didn't birth it, you didn't take care of it. But in their society, that's what gives these women status and not power, but yeah, I guess status, because they have no power there. It's very sad.
Did any one of you notice how much better the house looks from the partners? Even the handmaid's room, Janine's room, looks really beautiful for a handmaid's.
Yeah, I would love to understand how that works a little better. Obviously, Putnam is higher up in the chain, but there's a pretty...
the Waterfords are higher up, yeah, obviously.
I don't know.
The Putnams are higher, I think.
I would just assume from the house.
They must be considering the house, yeah.
Yeah,
but that's the only, that's the only info we have. But yeah, and I still think the Waterford's house is kind of shitty. Like,
yeah,
I mean, even the kitchen, it's not just June's room. The hallways and the kitchen, the paint is just, it's not pretty. They have the one sitting room that looks all right, but overall, I think their house is really not nice, and it's intriguing to me.
It's maybe like symbolic of them, right? Like it's beautiful from the outside, but the inside it's all rotted and old, and you know, they can put forth this image that they are the perfect power couple, you know, we help build Gilead, whatever, but on the inside they're all rotten and terrible and abusers.
It's a very good analogy, actually. Yeah, I always wondered why they don't just have Nick paint. But so then June is obviously worried as Janine reveals that Mr. Putnam is in love with her. You can tell that she knows that Janine's just being
played.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Janine is very naive now, so
I felt so sad when Janine was saying that, you know, the baby looks like her and she's happy that it doesn't look like the dad.
Yeah,
it is sad. And she mentions her other son Caleb there. It's also sad. What else? Anything else?
This show is sad.
It's hard to keep it like light and happy podcast.
The last note for this whole episode for me is this show is so horrifying. That's the last note I had for this whole episode. This show is horrifying.
Anything else in the Janine scene?
She said, I had a baby, a good one. So now she can do anything she wants and nobody can throw her out or kill her off or something like that. I mean, maybe to a point, but biting.
I think in reality, the extent of her power is getting ice cream.
Yeah,
she's viewing it differently.
I think like Claudia's right, because there's a sort of, they do have power when they have a baby. We know that when they're fertile, they won't be killed as easily as, for example, a man like Nick would be, or even maybe a wife who did something that's considered to be criminal, or a Martha. So they do have power in a way. Like you can do anything to them except kill them.
Right.
I think also that the ideas that the commander might be feeding her for her to think that he's in love with her also makes her feel that she has some sort of power that she doesn't have.
Yeah, for sure.
Because she, I mean, obviously she's naive about it, but she's under the idea that they're going to run away together. I also like that scene because you see how Janine's craving that friendship when she tells June, can I tell you a secret? She tells it twice, and you see, you know, she's just craving friendship because she's alone in that house just feeding the baby and trying not to connect with the baby, but then she has to connect with the baby, so it has to be an emotional roller coaster.
I asked myself, is this the point where June starts to be like more friends with Janine? Because before that scene she always thinks about her like she's the crazy one and I don't like her like that.
I think they bonded though during Janine's birth also.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I agree that like in the first episode, and she's been crazy and tells her Moira's dead, it's like not, it doesn't seem like a close friendship at that point. When does Serena admit what they do together sucks? I have that in my notes, but
right after that.
At the
Right after that.
Yeah, right after that. Yeah.
Okay.
First, she says what we do together is so terrible, and then she corrects herself to so terribly hard. So she wanted to say that this all is shit, but then she went back and said, no, it is so hard. It is not shit per se.
I think it's hard.
We must remain strong. I feel so blessed to have you.
I love you.
Sounds so genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah. My note was, Serena showing a moment of humanity. And then I wrote fake ass in all capital letters.
I wrote fuck this bitch.
Yes. Because it is, I mean, it's totally fake. I mean, it's because she thinks she's pregnant. She doesn't mean any of it. You know, like, I mean, maybe she does on some level, but for her, it's not the same. Yes, Serena can't read, but she's also not raped every month, has her baby ripped away from her.
It's far worse for June, but I'm sure Serena thinks it's worse for herself.
I'm sure she does. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you see her face during the ceremony. She hates it every single time. Yeah. She hates it.
Yeah, she doesn't associate well.
No, but she doesn't hate it because they're like raping a woman. They're hating it because she hates it because her husband is putting his thing in another woman. That's why she hates it. Because she can't have a baby. Point. That's why she hates it. Right. She doesn't hate it for the rape.
Exactly.
Right.
I have one more thing.
Go for it.
It's she warns June about the weak girls that are losing touch, and I found it funny because on the one hand she likes that June is a stronger woman, and on the other hand she's like she doesn't want her to be strong because then she can't control her that much. But it's like she doesn't know which side she wants to be. With June, so yeah,
it's complicated with June and Serena. Okay, so then Serena sends June home with Nick and decides to stay and help with Mrs. Putnam, and Nick's not acting like his normal friendly self in the car.
He is stressed. He is stressed.
He is stressed and feeling guilty.
Yeah.
Already.
I wrote a whole fic about Nick's actions in this episode. And my theory is he knew they were going to come and interrogate her about Glen. My thought is, like in my story, I wrote this van rolls up into the driveway. They're there early. At the point they were in the investigation, they shouldn't have been there yet. And here comes his van. And it's this new guy, and he tries to talk him off like, hey, look, I've talked to her. She doesn't know anything. And the guy's like, well, I still want to do it. And so that's why I couldn't stop them. I'm sorry. Like he tried to do what he could. Yeah.
He implies that he tried to stop them. So that's something.
And that's why he's so in the car. Like he knows they're there. He was driving her into a trap. He's just beside himself. And it just gets me every time.
Yeah,
I'm glad you said that, Tina, because when I first saw the scene, I was like, why is he being such an asshole?
I know, me too. Same.
Same. I mean, obviously you put things together after you watch, but you know, like there was something that just didn't click for me. I'm like, there's something here that I can't, you know, so yeah, thank you for that.
I don't love it either. So I like Tina's take on it because I feel like he could have been giving her more information on the way to help her a little more, but I think you must be right that he was just so stressed about what was about.
At this point, I wasn't really sure what to think about Nick or whether I should trust him. I liked him way more than like anybody else aside from June and her friends. But I thought that he definitely liked June and that he didn't want her to get hurt. But at the same time, I wasn't sure where his allegiance really like at that point.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
So it was really interesting.
Yes, so it's good that gets a little better throughout the episode, but it is an interesting scene. It's the first time you see him because she's like, don't you love fat babies? And you know, just talking to him like a friend because that's
God. And he's just like white knuckling the steering wheel, like I can't even. I'm so upset about what's gonna happen. Like
June is like, first she wants to have a nice conversation with a friend. It's the only time they can talk.
I know, they're alone in the car. We can talk.
And
hang out.
And then she notices that he doesn't react, and she gets like mad, and then she diverts to talking about Offglen, because when she's mad, then she gets out with the bad stuff, and that gets him to talk because he can't cope anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's giving her advice almost, right? He's like, you can't stop this no matter what you do. There's no point in trying to be tough or brave. Brave isn't a part of any of this. Everybody breaks. And then again, when they get into the driveway, he's giving her more information. Tell them everything, because he knows all they're there for is her being, what they, a gender traitor, as they call it. So tell them anything. He knows she hasn't been sleeping around with Offglen. I mean, I assume. So tell them everything. Don't try to hold back or back talk what she does, and then she gets hit across the face. He was trying his best to help her the best he could.
Right. So this had nothing to do with Mayday, right?
What happened when she starts getting interrogated, like June's demeanor, she thinks it's about Mayday and the rebels.
Yeah.
That's her voiceover at the beginning. Yeah. And then when she realizes that they're thinking that Offglen, had a relationship with Martha and stuff, she even kind of laughs. Like, she can't believe that you're really doing all this stupid shit because you think she's gay and maybe we kissed on our walks home, versus the fact that you have rebels and there's a Mayday. That's really why you're like, it was ridiculous actually when I caught into it, because why is she smiling? She smiles slightly in a part of the scene, and it's when she realizes, when she says, she's gay. I knew she was gay. And then they say, like, why didn't you report it to her mistress? And she says, because she's my friend. And that's how June has always had attachments to her friends. I think that was an important part of the whole scene. Like, she thinks that these girls are her friends.
So do they flash back then to her money and her job? I wonder why they do that right there. But yeah, so they flash back to June and Luke's apartment.
Yes.
Where Moira and June June's on the phone trying to get hold of someone that's going to help with her money, which we know everybody's on the phone right now, and nothing's going to happen.
I think when she rings, it's when she's at work.
Oh, you're right. Before she gets fired, right?
Yeah. And then when she gets home, she's just like decompressing from the day with Moira and Luke about how they can't do that. They can't do that. Surprise, they did.
Moira talks to Odette, right?
I think she mentioned. I think she mentions talking to her on the phone.
She mentioned her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that they placed this flashback right after she talked to Nick, because I sort of felt that there was sort of a parallel between Luke and Nick here. He did what he could for June to stop her from being interrogated, but obviously didn't work out.
Right.
And he felt guilty about it, and he felt bad about it, but it was still like really insufficient.
Powerless,
but sort of the same thing happened to her before with Luke. His reaction to her losing her money was also insufficient. Like, obviously things were much better then for her than they are for her at this point in Gilead. But I thought that there was like a parallel here. She was drawing a parallel from Luke, her beloved husband, her beloved, perfect, amazing husband, to this guy who she sort of barely knows.
Right. It is
That's
interesting.
beautiful.
And
that's
beautiful. Exactly what I was wondering.
Hadn't thought of that. That's
flash there. I like that.
But Luke's reaction, I'll take care of you. Which is like, it's so patronizing. And they're right. They call him on it. They're like, that's patronizing. And it is. But I really feel it's because of men like Luke that had that kind of attitude that Gilead was able to happen. Right. Because men like him didn't push back against what was happening. It wasn't their rights. It wasn't their freedom. It wasn't their money. I'll provide for you, honey. I got you. It's the casual internalized patriarchy. It wasn't, we got to go. We got to get out of the country right now. This is awful. No, it's okay. I'll take care of you. I got you. You can have your money through me.
He didn't even really question it either. He kind of just says, yep, I'll take care of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Why don't you question at least? Well,
Exactly. Like, this isn't even a problem. I can take care of you. It's fine.
Right.
It'll be okay.
Who reacts like that to such a
lot of people don't see that as a problem. That's the problem. He's not saying these things because he's evil. He's saying these things because he doesn't know better, because it doesn't affect him. Like, like Tina just said, it's not his rights. And he's saying like, well, I'm never going to control your money. If you need it, I'm going to just give it to you. I'm just going to have it. He doesn't understand because he doesn't agree with what's happening. But
he's not outraged. He should be outraged.
Exactly.
And he's not outraged.
Exactly. But it's because he's like, for me, his character is just that, oblivious. And he represents what Tina said. It's just that subtle misogyny because that's the way that he was brought up. And he says it, what's so wrong in wanting to take care of my wife? You don't need to take care of her. She had her own money. She had her own job.
Moira says something like, she is not your property. You want to take care of us when we're weak, right?
Right.
Exactly.
And it does almost feel like he's okay with being, you know, I don't know. There's something that rubs me wrong about his attitude about it all, like we've discussed, but like he's not nearly as upset about having to take care of his wife as he should be. And I hate how he always says possessively, my wife. I also hate how June just like, even though she's calling him on it, she's awkwardly laughing at him, like she always responds to him. I think
he didn't mean it. He didn't mean it like that.
Right.
That's what she says. He didn't mean it like that.
Like giggling, and it's like, it's just the way she always responds.
Well, then he says, do you want me to go to the kitchen and cut my dick off?
Yeah.
Which for me, that was
he's
worse
joking at this point. It's not funny.
Yeah, exactly.
He's joking. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know if this has ever happened to any of you, but usually if you're arguing with somebody anywhere or debating something and you're debating with a man and you win your point, they'll go to, why don't you just go make me a sandwich? Or, oh, maybe, you know, you're so bitter because you need some good dicking. Like, it's like the dick solves all world problems. That's how they see it. And for him to make that comment is just like, do you want me to cut my dick off? The problem is not the penis. That's not the problem. You know, that's fine. It's your mentality. That's the problem. And that has nothing to do with the penis. But I thought that extra comment added, at least to me, another layer of the wrong thing to say.
Well,
twice.
then there's another, he offers to take Moira to the station and then he laughs like, thanks, big strong man. He's still constantly making these kind of comments that are so inappropriate in this like extremely awful moment, you know? It's just a joke. It's not a joke to him, but he's just not taking it as seriously as he should. So, and Moira says, you really are the fucking problem, you know that? And I think that sums it up fairly well.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Moira is a badass.
I love Moira. I love Samara.
Yeah.
And then back to the eyes interrogation.
There's the cuddle scene in the night.
So I went to the Writers Guild Library in Los Angeles where you go and you can read the scripts. And in that scene, Luke was actually supposed to try and initiate sex with June.
So this is a cut scene that night?
It was a cut scene. So he was supposed to try and initiate sex, and she didn't want to. Obviously, I wouldn't want to. I just lost all my money and my rights. And then she has a thought in the script, in the notes, that she thinks that maybe they wouldn't even last in the long run anyway. So, that what we got on the show was just them, like Claudia said, like cuddling in bed, and June is like wide awake and Luke is fast asleep. So I don't know if the intention was for her to still have that thought in her head, but it was a little different how it was written in the script versus what we got.
That's interesting.
On the screen.
So then we flip back to the eyes interrogation. And I think that Guardian's really funny, by the way. But
voice. His voice is very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And June is just freaking out. She doesn't want pain. She doesn't want to die. She wants to keep living. She wants to do anything to keep living. I found that very interesting.
Voiceover. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the interrogators are always very nice.
Right. So he's asking, what did you talk about? Shopping and the weather. That's all. And that's all we're allowed to talk about, asshole. And then, she finally realizes the point of this is like we said earlier, it's not because she was part of Mayday or a rebel. It's because she had a relationship, with a woman.
And then Lydia's like, Offglen was very pleasant to look at, which is such an obnoxious question. Like, if she says yes to this, that means that they're having sex.
Yeah. Are you going to hang me next?
Sure, the whole package, which is really funny. Did Offglen touch you? Did you try? Did you know she was a gender traitor? I was surprised June told the truth there, but maybe she's listening to to Nick. And also she's like a little bit rebellious, I think, in her attitude at that point.
Very.
She feels stronger after she realizes what it's about and how ridiculous it is.
My favorite part of the whole scene is when Aunt Lydia says, "Blessed are the meek," and it's the same line that she said in episode 1. And June kind of, June knows what she's talking about. She's rebel June here, saying, "Blessed are those who suffer for the cause of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I remember."
I love that. I love that line and the way she delivers it and how pissed off it makes Lydia. Does she cattle prod her then?
Yes.
She slaps her.
Okay.
And then.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
Which is funny because she just said a Bible quote, but she gets it. She knows what she's saying. And that's awesome.
And that's when Serena comes in.
With Nick hot on her heels.
With Nick, yes.
He totally got back in that car and hauled ass back to the Putnams and was like, we gotta go.
See, that is something I was not aware of until recently, and I love it because, how in the world did she get back there 5 minutes later, basically? He must have raced back to the Putnams and said, "Serena, you got to come. You got to stop."
So did Nick knew though that she was going to be interrogated, right?
Yeah,
so,
he did know that. Yeah.
But he didn't realize that Serena wasn't going to.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe he just didn't think
stressed.
through it enough.
Yeah.
True. Maybe that's why he was stressed because Serena was in there.
Yeah. If they wouldn't have done it, if Serena had been there, she would have said, "No, you can't do it. She might be pregnant."
When Aunt Lydia finds out that she might be pregnant, she's like, "Oh."
Did you guys notice that Nick gives Burke, that's the guardian's name, a look when they walk past? It's very subtle, but it's there.
Yeah, he's very stressed, Nick.
And you can tell he didn't know she was pregnant. He's processing like a lot of information. Like, oh no, she was hit. She's hurt. She's pregnant. What is going on? Like, I left for 10 minutes. How did it turn into this?
He's supposed to just ask her questions.
Yeah.
And he's twisting his finger like crazy, like all the
his
Nick
anxious hand
fidgets.
Yeah.
Classic.
Nick basically just looks horrified the whole time.
Yes.
Oh yeah. He does.
It's very clear. His face acting is Max's is so good, like you can tell exactly how he feels without him using any words.
Yeah.
So then I think next it goes to Emily's, if you want to call it her trial. It is revealed at the end of the episode that her name is Emily.
Offen's name. Cool.
But I mean, it's like, what the fuck is due process? She doesn't get any defense. They just come and they're like, Handmaid 861, you have been charged with gender treachery or whatever the charge was. You are guilty. The state has the evidence and that's it. No defense, no nothing, which is not surprising. It's Gilead, but it's just horrifying. It's like 30 seconds. All right, you're done. You're Martha, that's it.
It's funny they even bother with the trial.
Yeah, right? Like why even bother?
Everybody's time and just skip it. And also right before that, a guardian like body slams her into the wall for no apparent reason, just because they can. And
she tries to
she was trying to
befriend him.
Yeah, she was groping him.
Yeah, for a second I thought it works.
I did too.
For a little bit.
But her actual charge was it's charged with gender treachery in violation of Romans 1:26 by his word. It says, because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural sexual relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed shameful acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their error.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing how they can cherry pick whatever they want out of the Bible.
Yeah.
So the Martha is sentenced to the common mercy of the state, which apparently means execution.
And apparently they knew that this meant execution because in the car when they drove away, they were crying. Hysterical. Yeah.
Breaks my heart the way they are in that van.
That whole scene is
loving each other.
Terrifying scene.
It's devastating.
Yeah, I wasn't grasping what's about to happen until they opened the door and she was led to the news.
Yeah.
And I was so in shock. I was like, no, right? common mercy. That doesn't sound like okay. Yeah.
The way the Martha is hanged with the crane,
it's horrible.
I was looking into it a little bit, and obviously Margaret Atwood, she wrote about things that have actually happened. Like she didn't make things up. And I was just horrified to obviously think that, people do get hanged with cranes.
It is horrifying. Yeah, the whole idea that she didn't write anything that's never happened, and this show is so upsetting, horrifying to watch, and it kind of goes down so quickly. I don't know, it's even harder to swallow as they rip her out and she's dead. I don't know, 30 seconds later, and they're already pulling away with Emily, right?
Yeah, and she has to watch everything
in front of her. Yeah, that's the
exactly.
Can I just say, Alexis Bledell's acting in this whole episode is absolutely amazing.
She got an Emmy for that, right?
She got it. Yeah.
Did she?
Yeah.
She's so good.
Yeah.
She was a guest star.
Yeah.
For the first episode, and obviously they made her a main character. It was very good.
So she was not intended to be on it for.
Yeah. Apparently, I read in an interview that Bruce said that in the book, Offred is told that Offred kills herself. So we don't know if she did, but that's what Offred is told. Mm-hmm. But Bruce was interested in what the criminal justice system in Gilead looked like. So he went in a different direction and kept Alexis because she was the first person he thought of for that role, and he loved her so much that he wanted to keep her.
Oh, that's awesome.
On. And she has no lines in this episode either. She doesn't speak a word.
No, she's covered. She's muzzled the whole time.
Oh, right, because she has the face.
Which, speaking of the muzzle, can I say it was really jarring in like this COVID age to watch her with the mask over her mouth and not her nose. The whole time I was like,
pull your
nose and mouth, nose and mouth, nose and mouth. Like,
so the ice scene. So yeah, she's on her bed, all messed up. Her face is. What does she have? She has just from where Aunt Lydia slapped her.
It's like
Burton's makeup is great in this scene.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
All the makeup.
Yeah,
also,
so
we skipped this, but she's so pretty in the flashbacks.
She does look
too.
beautiful in this.
Yeah.
I love them. But yes, so flash forward to her room, and she's got the mark on her face from where Aunt Lydia hit her, and Nick knocks on the door, and she's totally surprised because nobody knocks on her door, right?
Yeah, he knocks. Yeah. And he asks if he can come in.
I know.
Yeah.
He asked for her consent.
Definitely never happened.
Of course you can.
But yeah. So she says that, and he comes in all nervous. His face, again, the face acting. You can tell how like stressed he is and how surprised she is.
Nervous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he probably thought that she hated him after what happened to her and after he wasn't able to help her.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a valid concern, but she's not feeling that way. She's like, oh, wow. He's come up to check on me. Yeah.
She makes a joke. You know, again, like
the way they do.
It's like he's so nervous because he feels so guilty, and he's like breathless, and he doesn't know what to say. And he says, "I just wanted to check," and she doesn't really look at him the whole time, but then she makes eye contact and starts to make her joke to lighten the mood, to get him to laugh.
Oh my god, his little laugh. Oh my heart.
And he stares at her the whole time. She's not looking at him until she makes the joke. Not really, but he stares at her the whole time. And then she keeps staring at him back, and I love that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, his little laugh that he does, like
he's like, oh, me, I'm the weird guy in your room. That's me. Like, you're so funny.
You're so brave. You're making a joke right now after I just saw you cattle prodded, you know?
Yeah.
He admires her so much. And then she says, you're dripping, and he looks down like totally unaware that the ice is melting and dripping onto the floor because he's just staring at her, right?
Like that he apparently just forgot. He was like, oh yeah, I brought you ice. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I wasn't here, just like she told him a joke and like his brain completely broke.
Babe, it's melted. It's melting.
And he's like, oh yeah, I brought you ice. That's why I'm here. It wasn't just to like flirt or anything, you know.
Look at you.
It's cute, yeah.
And I think the way she gives him signals that she's open for a friend, that they can be friends or more, or I don't know, is like coaxing him to get closer, because he was like awkwardly standing there, and then she made the joke, and then she made the dripping joke again, and then he gets closer, so a bit.
And then he stumbles over what he says. I don't know if that's a Nick or a Max thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, I wish I should have just driven away with you. And she's shocked at that. Like that actually, I feel like just stuns her. Her face is a whole mask of confusion and awe. Like, what did he just say to me?
It makes perfect sense in a way. Like to us, it sort of makes perfect sense. Of course, you want to drive away from that. But at the same time, in the context of what's happening in their world, she knows it would be a death sentence.
Right.
Yeah.
She knows he would have been killed for that.
Right. And this is
It's shocking
the boldest
for her.
thing. It's the boldest thing he said. It's a whole new.
It's an admission.
Yeah.
He's admitting that he's interested. He's letting her know, I should have just saved you.
It's extremely vulnerable. He gets, and the sexual tension is just like.
I wonder if she's thinking back to that moment earlier when she was getting questioned, like, oh no.
When he knocks, when he comes in?
Yeah, I was just thinking like when they were questioning her about Offglen.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And she's
relevant,
thinking,
right?
you know, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
I like when he leaves a room and he looks back at her and he has this reaction, like he sighs, and it's like I'm screwed. And it takes me back to him in the car saying everybody breaks. And
he's breaking in that moment.
Everybody breaks, even you, Nick. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a full body sigh.
I think that.
Did he tap his hand on the door as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Movements, right?
Yeah.
And I'm fucked, exactly like Tina said. I'm so fucked.
Right. Is that the first time they touch though, when he comes up with the ice and their hands are cradling each other?
Yeah.
So a lot of big steps were taken in this small scene.
Speaking of first, in the script, this was actually supposed to be the first time they kiss. So I actually took very detailed notes on this part because it was such a huge change. And like I said, I was at the library, right? And you're supposed to be quiet in a library. I was there with my friend, one of my other Handmaid's Tale friends, and she jumped to that scene first. And next to me, she starts like freaking out. And I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, you got to go look at the ice scene. It's completely different. And so I go to look at it, and they were supposed to kiss. They were supposed to have their first kiss. And then we actually got in trouble because we were too loud in the library because they actually were supposed to kiss and we missed a kiss. So my notes say what was supposed to happen is Nick was actually supposed to come up. Well, first of all, her injury is not supposed to be like on her like eye. It was supposed to be like on her lip. She's supposed to have like a busted lip. So he was supposed to come up and put the ice on her lip and say, I should have just driven away with you. And then she was so moved by that she kisses him, and he responds, and it's really passionate. And then June stops it because it's hurting her lip, and he apologizes.
I was going to say, her lip must be hurting right now.
Yeah. So he apologizes for hurting her. And then also in the scene, the way it was written before he put the ice on her lip, he was supposed to like look at her and say, oh, look what she did to you. And then he was going to apologize for what happened. So then when Nick leaves, she was really into the kiss, and she speaks about it in a voiceover. And I don't have the direct quote, but I summed it up, and it says something about it awoke feelings in her that she hadn't felt in years. And there was a part about kissing someone being like riding a bike, and she just wanted to climb on top of him and start pedaling. She was very thirsty for him. And then there was also a line about Luke would understand. And then this is a direct quote. The last line of the voiceover was, "Forgive me, Luke, for I am dripping." Yeah. So she was thirsty.
Where is she dripping?
Yeah.
We know.
Was it the ice? Yeah.
The ice, of course.
Yeah. The ice, of course, is what was dripping. Yeah. So I have some thoughts about how we feel the scene was with or without the kiss. I think it was actually better that they didn't kiss there. And I think
I do as well. I think the tension build up, every tension is just cut with Rita's knife.
I think makeup wise, I guess they must have made that decision though before. Like, I don't know. I wonder if they filmed it that way at all, because obviously her makeup is not on her lip. It's a face mark. I wonder if they filmed it both ways or not, but I agree. I like it way better this way because the tension isn't just
off the charts.
Yeah.
I have a question. At the end, once he leaves, June is sitting down on the bed and they focus on her face.
Yeah.
And then she lets go of the ice.
Yeah.
And I can't, for the love of anything holy, understand that scene.
know.
And I just wanted to see what you guys got from the scene.
I know. I think her period got triggered by all that feelings, because I know from my body that certain things can trigger that it's starting. So I always thought because she sits there like reminiscing the touch and thinking about her feelings, and suddenly her face changes and then she drops the eyes. It's like, oh snap, there was it. Yeah,
that's a great point. I've never actually thought of that before.
Yeah, I wondered too, and I know I heard someone say that maybe her period started, and I bet that's it, because you can feel when that starts, and that changes a lot for her. I'd also like to know, we'll never know, but I'd like to know if, I don't think she was probably pregnant, but if she was, I mean, I doubt many early pregnancies survive cattle prodding. So I feel like Lydia should heat herself.
Yeah, that's why I don't Serena at all, because she know what they did to June. So I know she wants to blame it to someone, but she was cattle prodded. She could lash out to Lydia.
Yeah. From there, they go to the protest, which Luke did not attend.
Surprise.
I'm shocked.
Shocked. In his defense, it's possible that he had to watch Hannah.
That's true.
But
yeah.
Either way, it kind of fits with the way he's reacted to the whole situation so far, which is not very upset.
I love the song in this scene as well. Heart of Glass.
It's just horrifying, especially in the wake of, we've had so many violent protests here in the United States over the last year or two, to see it play out. It gets violent. They start shooting at them.
How quickly it escalates into literally killing people.
That's just, to me, the way it escalates so quickly to shooting. It's scary because it's very close to reality. Horrifying. They just want to be able to have money and buy property and own property, and they're getting shot for it.
But they make the protesters seem, and that happens also in reality, like they're the violent ones and they're the rabid ones, because things, you're taking away their rights. And so what are they supposed to do? Ask nicely? Can you please not change the law and allow me to have money? Eventually, when it comes to that, they're going to keep trying to take things away, and eventually you're going to be trapped. So you go and you protest because that's your right. But obviously the takeover had already happened. So it's to instill the fear and just make sure that these people stay in line. I mean, it's scary when you see it, like you said, play in front of you, especially with what's going on around in the world.
Yeah.
Then
June.
June in the nursery. She comes to the nursery to say she's got her period. And she and Nick is carrying that box, and they stop and look at each other.
He's still rattled by what happened.
He's almost stumbling again, like in the kitchen scene.
In my notes for this, I wrote, Serena's being a dumbass. She's already building a nursery.
I know, it's a little bit early.
5 weeks pregnant, and she's building a nursery. That's insane.
My period's a few days late. That is really funny.
But then, she tells Serena, I'm not pregnant. And the immediate shift.
The Serena shift.
That's when she hauls her back to her room and throws her on the floor. You're not going to leave this room. Do you understand me? And that's when she gets on her hands and knees and screams in her face, do you understand me?
Yvonne's acting in that scene was great.
She's so good.
She's such an excellent actress, because she's such a lovely person. You can tell in interviews, right? And oh my God, the way that she plays Serena, she's amazing. So she's literally in her face screaming at her like it's her fault at all. She's just been cattle prodded. Come on. And
things can get much worse for you.
Yeah. All because she dared to not get pregnant by somebody who is infertile. Like he's shooting blanks and she had the audacity to not get pregnant. Like she could control it.
Before Serena goes tropo, is that an Australian word, tropo?
I believe so.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
What does it mean?
Tell us.
Like, Serena goes nuts. Like, she's gone crazy.
I like it. I'm gonna pick up all your words. I like that.
She says, "You're my miracle. It was hard to keep faith, but here you are."
She's pissed because she got vulnerable. She's pissed because she got vulnerable. She opened up, and then June tells her that not pregnant, and then she just turns into a fucking cunt.
Yeah. Somebody noticed that Nick was a bit stalling in the background, lingering in the room while they started talking. Yeah, he was in the June came in, and there was the other guardian going in and out of the room, but Nick was almost right next to June and Serena. And he was like looking at stuff and things, and I was like, does he want to listen what they are talking about? Or
that is such a Nick thing.
And I think he left the room. You hear footsteps, and so I think he leaves the room just right before June tells Serena that she has gotten a period. So he missed the big moment.
So then I think after that we go to the last scene of the episode, which is Emily waking up. To realize she has been mutilated against her will by what was her sentence? She was
redemption.
So is that her? I guess that was her redemption, was being mutilated by Gilead. What does Aunt Lydia say? Like, things will be much easier for you or something like that, correct?
Yeah, that's what she says.
And then that's when she says her name. Things will be much easier for you, Emily, or we do learn her name at that point. And Alexis Bledel, her face acting, we always talk about the face acting, but her face acting, like the last shot of the episode, is you can just see she's filled with rage and she's absolutely pissed. I mean, I would be too, at what this place has done to her. Again, it's so horrifying. And I know Margaret Atwood wrote about things that only happened in the past. So to know that has happened to women,
I think
actually happens.
That still happens now. Yeah.
Does it?
I think in parts of the world it does. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. It's unthinkable. I remember the first time I watched that, I was like, it almost took me a second to realize what had happened, because it's just something that wouldn't cross my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Does anyone want to dumb it down?
Genital mutilation. They cut her clitoris off because I guess they believe that's what gives her the urges to be with other women. But Aunt Lydia, said, you still can have kids, so don't worry, you're good.
I don't know if someone said this already, but Aunt Lydia says you won't want what you cannot have.
So pleasure.
You can have children, but no pleasure. Right.
You're still a walking incubator. That's great. We didn't mess with that. But pleasure, you won't have pleasure anymore.
I noticed in the hospital scene that the hospital, or at least that ward, was empty aside from Emily. So I just started wondering if even the healthcare system in Gilead is just simply geared towards having babies. Like, is it only for women who have kids and nobody else gets like any healthcare? Or how does it work?
Torture and having kids, and that is the extent of their healthcare. I could see that. It's a good point. There's nobody in there. It's like eerily empty when she wakes up.
Yeah, it's very eerie. White walls.
Mm-hmm.
When I was researching, I was reading that Anne Dowd and Alexis, they were supposed to shoot this scene, like they were first on the call sheet, but they ended up swapping it. So they shot this scene at 3 a.m. I thought that was interesting.
Oh.
Just their schedules are crazy.
I know. I'd love to understand that a little better, what the hours are. And, it's interesting to me, like, everybody's not in every scene, obviously, but let's say like makeup, let's say like Burton LeBlanc. Is he just on call all the time on the set, like the whole time they're filming? That would be so much work.
I'd be interested to know how many makeup artists they have, actually, like assistants they have to him.
I think that in a recent post he said that they hired more for like the colonies. But when I was listening to his Eyes on Gilead interview, I think he talked about basically like 3 main artists that he does, like June and the main actors, and then the other 2 each divide up the others. And I'm sure there's more staff below that, but it's quite an operation. A lot of blood in Gilead. So I think that's a wrap on our spoiler-free discussion of Late, the season 1, episode 3 episode of The Handmaid's Tale. We hope you join us next week when we talk about season 1, episode 4, which is difficult for me to pronounce. Anybody on here want to say it? Nolite te bastardes carborundorum?
Kimberly, do you have a tattoo of this on your arm, or is that just your profile picture?
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I was wondering if it was somebody else's arm that you just like the tattoo, but no, it's yours. That's awesome.
No, yeah, I got it like basically almost straight after I finished watching like the episodes that are out now. I was just like, okay, I'm doing it.
I love it. Awesome. You were right to do that. So can you say the words then of your tattoo? No.
Don't let the bastards grind you down. There you go.
There you go. That's what episode 4 is called. So that'll release next Monday. And then following that on Wednesday, we'll do the deep dive, which will be spoiler full of the same episode. And for this week on Wednesday, we will also release a deep dive of this episode Late. And we hope you join us. Thanks for listening to Above the Garage.
You know, I think about us, the three of us, what we could be. I think about it all the time.
Please. It's terrible.
No, it's not. I know June. She's my friend. I care about her. How's your day going? You look pretty.
Thanks. I wore it just for you. Our father's a driver named Nick. He helped me to survive. Yes, you can, because I can't lose you.
I'm not gonna let anything happen to you.
What about you?
Your girlfriend is a badass.